Hey, welcome back to Ganny's Story Time. If you've listened again, thank you for tuning back in. And if it's your first time, I hope you like the story and find that reading can be fun. And you'll listen to some of the other stories that I have online. Some schools are even allowing online story reading as part of your child's evening reading time that they're requiring. So, anyway, I hope you enjoy this story. This is Ella the Elegant Elephant by Carmela and Stephen D'Amico. They wrote this story and they also did the pictures. This book was published by Arthur Levine Books, which is an imprint of the Scholastic Book Company. They wanted to make sure we had this book to hold and to be able to read again and again. Somewhere in the great wide Indian Ocean lie the Elephant Islands, hidden by a fog so thick that no human being has ever found them. Look at all that fog. This is the Elephant Islands. On one of the islands lived a shy little elephant named Ella. She loved her mother's new bakery and their cozy apartment up above it. But they were new to town and Ella was worried. So here's the bakery, okay? And so here's Ella up here. She's new in town, and sometimes when you move to a new place, you're kind of nervous until you meet people because you don't know anybody. School started in only 2 more days, and Ella was nervous about making new friends. She's counting down the days. So her mother suggested that she do something constructive, but Ella didn't know what. Well, there's still quite a bit of unpacking to do. Why don't you give me a hand while we wait for these cookies to cook? Ella's mom is over here cooking cookies. She has a bakery. Bakeries have bread and cookies and cakes and cupcakes and donuts and bagels, all kinds of fresh baked foods. And Mom is saying, why don't you help me? That will help the days go by faster. Ella didn't think this sounded very fun, but she couldn't think of anything better to do. Oh, all right, she said, and she followed her mother down the creaky stairs. Remember, they lived up above the bakery, so they have to go downstairs. The first thing Ella noticed was a dusty wooden hat box. A card taped to the top read, "To Ella." This is the box. It says, "To Ella, from Grandma." Ella opened the box. Oh, Mom, look! See something sticking out the top? Oh, yes, her mother said. I remember this hat very well. Grandma used to call it her good luck hat. It was very special to her. I'm sure that's why she decided to give it to you. This is her grandmama's hat. Ella held the hat to her chest and then she put the hat on her head. I love it, she said. I absolutely love it. On the first day of school, Ella looked like all of the other elephants in her class, except for one thing. Ella, right here, she wore her hat. The teacher asked her if she wouldn't mind sitting at a desk in the back row so she wouldn't block the other students' view of the chalkboard. Because if Ella sat up front, the children behind the elephants behind her wouldn't be able to see the chalkboard. When the class was settled, Miss Briggs said, "We have a new student joining us this year. Ella, will you come down to the front and tell us something about yourself?" Ella wasn't expecting this. She felt her face turn red. She took a deep breath and she walked up the aisle. But on her way, she tripped and fell, landing flat on her belly. "Belinda Blue," scolded Miss Briggs. "I saw that. Shame on you." See, look at that. Belinda tripped her when she was walking down the aisle. Belinda slumped down in her seat and said, "I didn't mean to." Looks like she did mean to. At recess, Ella sat all by herself, hoping that someone might ask her to play, but nobody did. Then Belinda Blue, the biggest elephant in the whole school walked up to Ella and said, "Wow, that is a dumb hat. It doesn't even match your uniform." "Yeah," said Belinda's friend Tiki, pushing up her glasses. This one's got to be Tiki. She's the only one wearing glasses. "Maybe she thinks she looks elegant in it." Belinda shouted, "I know. Let's call her Ella the Elegant." "Yeah," Tiki laughed. "Ella the Elegant Elephant." They're making fun of her because of her hat. When Ella got home from school, her mother asked how her day was. "It was terrible," Ella said. "Everyone made fun of my hat." "Well, they must not know how special it is to you. Maybe you should tell them." "But I don't want to," Ella said. Her feelings were too hurt. "My dearest Ella," her mother sighed, "things will get better, I promise." There she is in her hat. The next day at lunch, Ella sat by herself, eating her sandwich. She's over here all by herself. Then, oh, look at over here, these girls. Then something hit her in the back of the head. It was a big red ball. "Hey, Ella the Elegant," shouted Belinda. "Want to play ball?" Ella didn't want to play ball with Belinda, but she was afraid that if she didn't, she'd get teased even more. So she said, "Okay," and she tossed the ball back. She tossed the ball back all right. But Belinda did not toss the ball back to Ella. Instead, when Belinda had got the ball, she threw it on top of the safety wall that surrounded the schoolyard and said, "Well, why don't you climb up there and get it then?" See, Belinda hit Ella in the head. Ella did throw the ball back to Belinda, but when Belinda got it, this is where she threw it. She was being a smarty aleck. But it's against the rules," Ella said. "But nobody's looking," huffed Belinda. "But," Ella said meekly, "I think it might be dangerous." Belinda rolled her eyes. "No, it's not dangerous. Just climb right up and throw it down. What could be more simple?" "Well, if it's so simple, why don't you do it?" said Ella. Tiki and the others turned and looked at Belinda. "Well, fine, I will." Belinda glared at Ella. "But you flunked the test." Then she turned to her friends and shouted, "Well, don't just stand there. Help me get up there." So all Belinda's friends made a little stack and helped her climb right on up there. A crowd started to gather. Everyone wondered what was going on. Everyone's starting to look, what's going on up there? So Belinda started showing off. She's got the ball up there. She was tossing the ball from hand to hand and hopping up and down on just one foot. "See how easy it is?" she exclaimed. But in all of her hopping and jumping around, Belinda lost her balance and she slipped. Nobody knew what to do. Some of them ran off to find a teacher. Some of them covered their eyes, but most of them just stood there and stared at her. Belinda, she started to cry. Ella felt sorry for her. Maybe Belinda wasn't as tough as she seemed. She was showing off, goofing off where she wasn't supposed to be, and look what happened. Before she had time to think about it, this is Ella. Before she had time to think about what she was doing, Ella piped up, "I'll help!" She wasn't sure how, but she felt she had to try. When Ella got to the top, she said, "Okay, just grab my hand." Belinda did. And Ella started to pull with all her might. But since Ella was so small and Belinda was so big, Belinda's weight pulled them both over the edge. They're both over the edge now. They fell and they fell. But then, as they were falling, something amazing happened. Ella's hat kind of caught the wind and blew off of her head. And look at what happened. It got big, like a parachute. Nobody, not the elephants watching from the schoolyard, not the elephants stumbling on the beach, not even Ella or Belinda could believe it. They were safe. They had gotten up high on the school wall. They were safe. When Ella got home from school, she told her mother about the exciting events of the day. Her mother scooped Ella up in her arms and said, "Grandma's hat must really be good luck. What you did was very brave, but you must promise me something, Ella. Promise me you'll never climb the safety walls again. What happened today was magical and not likely to happen twice." "Oh, don't worry," Ella said. I promise I won't." The next morning, Ella woke up much later than usual. She ran all the way to school, but she still didn't make it in time. When she burst through the classroom door, she couldn't believe her eyes. She overslept, rushed to school, come bursting in through the door, and to her surprise, even Belinda was smiling beneath the brim of her big purple hat. Miss Briggs said, "Since we can't sit all at the back of the row in the back row now, I'll have to ask you to remove your hats just during class." So everyone sat down. And when Ella looked up to the chalkboard, she giggled. But everybody was wearing a hat when she came through the door. They all liked the idea of Ella's hat. But anyway, when Ella looked up at the chalkboard, she giggled. Things had definitely gotten better. It says, "We love Ella." Ella helped save Belinda, the one who was being mean and rude and ugly to her. So that is the story of Ella, the Elegant Elephant. It's always it's mostly difficult when we move because if we don't know anybody there, we don't know who we're going to be making friends with. And we do feel like we kind of sit out until we meet somebody. And they made fun of Ella's hat. Ella still stayed nice. And in the end, she had a lot of friends. Thank you for tuning in. I want to say good night to Hash Brown, Madiddlin, and Jumpin' Jack. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. This is from you who have listened. For my three of the gang, Ganny loves you, and I hope to see you at next story time. Good night.